which is where the nuance comes in, that has manifesting generator qualities to it. But I am a projector. That is the reality of it. I am a projector. So if you feel like you resonate with some different energy types, it's absolutely normal at this point to be like, oh, but I resonate with this and I resonate with that. But you can only be one. And what I want you to really do is keep leaning into the energy type that you are, okay? And keep experimenting with that. But just know that there could be flavors of other energies in your chart that's playing out in your circuitry. But your foundation is your type and your strategy. Does that make sense for everyone, just before we get started? Awesome. Beautiful. So let's start with our generators in the room today. So you guys are what we call the energy powerhouses. Now, this is generator specific. I will be moving into the manifesting generator after this. They are different. So please note there's some similarities, which I will make sure I explain, but this is the generator energy type to begin with. You guys are what we refer to as the life force giving cornerstones of society. You're designed to respond to life, not to initiate. I'm going to explain for you what that means in a moment. Defined by your sacral center, okay? So our generators have a defined colored in sacral center. You guys are here to excite, delight, and inspire the collective. That is what your energy does. When you love what you do and you're excited and you're just loving life, what you're actually doing is you're doing the same for the people around you. They get really excited by what you're doing, what you're excited about. And that is why you guys have profound effects on groups and teams. Okay, so the generators of the world are here to show us that when you do something that lights you up, that you love, we also call you the joy seeker, that is what is for you. Now, if you are a generator at the moment and you're like, I don't feel very energetic, I don't feel like I'm in my joy, I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you did something purely for the joy of it, right? And not just because you can or because you should. There is a quote I love using for generators, which is just because you can doesn't mean you should, okay? It's that sacral of like, just because you can do it all doesn't mean you should do it all. Now, what often happens with our generators is that you guys are very capable. You love a plan, generally speaking, right? Generators love a plan. You're like, I will do the thing, but I want the steps. How do we want to get from A to B, okay? Generators are really good at the tasks. They're very task orientated. You want to get something done, give it to a generator, right? Because they execute on things that need to be done. What can happen though for our generators is you guys are usually the capable ones that gets everything done, and then people notice that and they go, oh, just give it to the generator. Oh, this needs to be done. Give it to the generator. Generators, do we resonate with that? Where all of a sudden you're like, why on earth am I doing everything that everybody else is supposed to do? Because you're the executor, you're getting it done, you're quick, you plan things out. Yeah. But what can be really frustrating is eventually you feel burnt out because you're like, why am I doing everything I'm not supposed to be doing? What happened? Right? So the reality is for our generators, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And often with generators, when they come to me and they're like, I'm feeling burnt out, I am not in my joy, I don't even know what brings me joy anymore, it's usually because you have gotten so used to saying yes to everything and being capable that what happened is that you're just continuously doing all the things that everybody else is requesting of you. And you can see how that's a boundary piece, right? So when a generator is lit up and love what they do, you are going to be able to create this sustainable level of energy. If a generator loves what they're doing, they will be able to pull incredible energy to get that work done, right? But if you are feeling the complete opposite, I want you to really feel into where are you not leaning into your joy. I had a generator client who was running a construction company, and I was helping him and his team kind of, work out what the best roles are for each person, get them in their zone of genius using human design as one of the tools. And he said to me, he's a generator. And he said to me, you know what? I don't resonate with being a generator because I don't feel energetic. I'm exhausted. I feel burnt out. He's like, and I said to him, what do you do that brings you joy? And he's like, I have no idea. He's like, I really don't feel like, he goes, I love my business, I love my family. He's like, but I don't have anything that gives me energy anymore. And I said to him, what's the thing that you used to love doing? And he kind of thought about it and he was like, well, he's like surfing. And I was like, okay. He literally lives 2 blocks down from the beach. I said, when's the last time you went for a surf? And he's like, I can't remember. And I said, okay, your only goal as a generator running a big business is I want you to find time in your week to go for a surf. Get up in the morning, even 2 mornings a week. I need you to go out there and go for a surf. And of course, at first he was like, oh, I'm busy. I've got things to do, but okay. And he did it. And I got a message from him at lunchtime that day, and he was like, I went for a surf this morning. He goes, and I feel like a different person. And so after that, that was his non-negotiable. And what happened was he was a better manager. He was a better leader. He felt more energetic because he was giving back to himself. He was creating energy through the things that he genuinely loved. And that brought back the purpose of what he was doing in the first place. Because we've all been there, right? We get stuck in a rut and we just start to do the same thing over and over again. And we get into this autopilot. And all of a sudden we're like, none of this is enjoyable anymore because we lose track of why we were doing this in the first place. And something as simple as that shifted quite a lot for him. And he then realized how important it actually was to make sure that even just in the smallest moments in his week, that he does do something that brings him joy, because that really, really impacted his energy in the best way. Is that making sense for our generators especially? So if you've got a generator in your life, they really do need to tap into their joy. Gardening, painting, you name it, whatever it is, right? If you have a generator that's running a business that is obsessed with what they do, they love what they do, they are likely not going to feel burnt out. Where they will feel burnt out is if they're doing too much of the stuff they don't like, which is a great transition period for them to be like, cool, what do we start outsourcing for you? What can we start taking off your plate so you can really focus in on the things that you really do love? Okay. So your strategy as a generator is to respond. So you're here to respond to life rather than initiate, right? You're not initiating, you're responding. So the power lies in that sacral center, which gives you this gut response. Okay, so it's either going to be this yes, like this, like you just know it's a yes for you, or it can be what we call a sacral sound, which is a uh-huh, or a no, which is going to sound like uh-uh. Okay, it's literally a sacral sound. A lot of generators will literally say this out loud, uh-huh, uh-uh. Okay, that's your sacral sound. Or it's going to feel like an expansion or a contraction in your body. You're either going to be like, yes, I love that. Nope, I don't like that. Or you're going to feel it in your literal gut, your body. We call it body wisdom. This is where you are responding from. You're putting yourself in an environment and being like, do I like what I see or not? Do I like this? Yes or no? Do I resonate with that? Yes or no? That is what we want you as a generator to do. That is how we want you to respond. Okay, so if you have a goal or you have something you want to do, now don't get confused with just because you can't initiate doesn't mean you can't start anything in your life. But what you want to do is you really want to think about the thing that you want to do and allow your body to respond to the yes and the no. Okay, so you're waiting for external cues, questions, opportunities, and signs. Okay, that is the best way a generator is going to know if something is right or not. I'll give you guys a really good example. Calvin, that you'll all be meeting in session 7 that I've introduced you to in session 1. He's my business partner. He is a generator. When we did our business partnership, him and I were doing Australia only. He's already doing his global business with his stuff, but we started with Australia with him and I. And then I said, you know what? I really want to branch out to the US. And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, we're doing all these other countries. We're doing this, we're doing that. And he's like, okay. And I was like, I really want to do the US. And he was like, okay, let me think about it. And then he said he went away and thought about it. And all of a sudden, he was watching this YouTube video with a mentor, online mentor, who mentioned the US. And as a generator, he was like, okay, I'm going to respond to that. Lindell's brought it up. This mentor's brought it up. Why not? Let's go wide. Let's go big. Okay. And so that's what we did. And it has been the most successful thing we have done in the business to date. And so the incredible thing about this is that is how a generator responds. And he literally said that to me. He's like, that is so funny. He goes, because knowing his human design, because I've done work with him and his team, he was like, I literally see now how I responded to it. Because when I first mentioned it, he said he was like, oh yeah, that sounds good. But he was like, oh, look, let me think about it. Because obviously it's a lot of work behind the scenes. And then when he watched something else and the US was brought up again, he was like, yeah, this feels good. And that's how we went from there. So it's like trusting that sacral response that tells you what is truly aligned. When you respond correctly, you feel satisfied and energized. Okay, that is how a generator is like, oh, okay, I have responded correctly. You are going to have times where you haven't responded correctly, and that's okay because you're going to learn what that feels like. And you're going to be like, okay, that was not correct. I responded out of maybe fear, out of whatever else, what other place instead of my gut. Okay. And when you act prematurely or force an outcome, you're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel frustrated about the outcome. You're going to feel frustrated about the process. And for you, what you really want to figure out is, okay, how do I feel satisfied and energized about this? What needs to shift? What needs to change? So for our generators, success comes from mastering the art of waiting to respond, right? So you're allowing yourself to respond first and then committing fully to what lights you up. Does that make sense for our generators? Yeah. If you have a generator in your life, I'd love to know if you're kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I can see how they work now. I can see how this plays out for them, right? The biggest misconceptions about generators are that you guys must hustle and work non-stop to be successful. Because the misconception there is, well, you've got this cycle, you've got this energy, you should just be able to keep going and going and going and going and going. If it doesn't light you up, it is not going to be sustainable. It really is that simple for our generators, okay? And also, you're not a robot. We're all humans. We still need some level of rest. Everyone's just going to look a little different. The other misconception is that you should initiate ideas and go after what you want. You absolutely should go after what you want, by the way. Everybody should. But remember how I said it's the way we go about things, whether it's going to be sustainable or not? Feel into the gut. You have this body wisdom. Allow it to respond. That's what you want to do first and foremost. You want to respond with that body wisdom. The other misconception is that you're only valuable when being productive. A lot of generators feel this way because you have been conditioned to believe that, because you are very good at what you do. You're usually the task-orientated person. You're getting the things done. So therefore, everybody is like, here, you do it. What happens is then our worth gets attached to always being productive. What you as a generator needs to do is you need to come back to, is what I'm doing bringing me joy? Do I feel exhausted, burnt out, and depleted by what I'm doing? Or do I actually feel lit up and excited by what I'm doing? Now, please know we're all adults, of course, and sometimes you've got to do stuff you don't really love doing. That's life. I'm talking overall in life though, right? Like if you're just like day in, day out, like this is draining my life, you need to look at what needs to shift, what needs to change, what needs to be let go of, and what do you need to bring back into your life to bring you that joy that's going to bring you that energy again. You need to find so another misconception is that you need to find your purpose before taking action. No, you need to find your joy. Lean into the joy of things. Follow your body wisdom. That is going to lead you to your purpose. And you should say yes to everything that gives you energy. This is a tricky one for generators because just because everything excites you, you've still got to be reasonable, right? Like you've got to still look at, okay, I really want to do this thing. This is going to bring me a lot of joy, but what do I need to say no to so I can make space for the thing? When I explain this to generators, I often explain, like, let's just say you've got a storage unit as a generator, right? And it is packed to the brim. And you're like, somebody is about to deliver this sports car to you. And you're like, oh, I really want that. That really excites me. But I don't know where I'm going to put it because the storage unit's full, right? So you need to go into your storage unit, your sacral energy, and be like, what am I doing in my life that I'm like, throw that away, get rid of that. Let's make some space so that you can park this sports car in that space, right? To be like, this is the thing I actually want. Does that resonate with everybody? It's like, what are you cluttering up? What are all the things you doing as a generator just because you can? And then what you're not able to really commit to is the very thing that's right there ready for you to get excited about. But it's like, you're like, I don't have space for it in my life. So you can't say yes to everything. You need to do a bit of an audit of your life to see, what am I saying? Because whatever we say yes to, we're saying no to something else, remember, and vice versa. Always important to understand. Our generator gifts consistent and sustainable life force energy when you are doing the things that you love. Magnetic to aligned opportunities when following joy. When you follow your joy, you will be amazed at the things that are presented to you, that show up in your world. Powerful gut instinct for decision making, mastery through repetition, and deep engagement. What often happens for generators is you guys will be doing something and enjoying it, and then you kind of hit a plateau. I always explain it like you're climbing stairs. Like you're like, whoop, this is exciting, this is amazing. You kind of hit a plateau and you're like, a little bored now. What's happening? What you want to be doing right then in that moment is you are in your mastery phase. You want to master the thing that you're doing before you step onto the next step. Really, really important, because what is also going to burn you out as a generator is that if you don't allow that mastery piece, you're never going to completely step into the thing that you want to do and do it really well, because that is what you are here to do as a generator, right? Is you really do things very, very well. And so if you keep jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing, you're really out of alignment there. So what you need to do is, when you have those moments where you're like, oh, things feel a little stagnant, nothing is like majorly happening, stay with the mastery. It's through repetition, right? And this deep engagement that you're going to be able to then take that next step. And then it's the ability to energize and uplift others through your satisfaction. When you're living your best life and you're doing the things that light you up, you are going to have this automatic ripple effect on the people around you. That's also going to get them really excited. That's why you guys do amazing in groups, because when a generator is doing what they love, like the whole group is like, oh my gosh, we love this too. This is amazing, because it energizes everyone else. Our manifesting generators are our dynamic hybrids. You guys are a combination of the manifester and the generator, hence manifesting generator. We call you guys the time benders of the collective, because you guys move fast. You pivot fast, you make decisions fast, you change your mind fast. You're what we call the multi-passionate and quick movers, okay? You guys are like, whoo, I'm over here, I'm over there, I love this, I love that, I love all the things, I'm doing all the things, okay? And you often find shortcuts. So you collapse time, and what you take these quantum leaps where all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, how did you were there and now you're here, and like, how did that happen? Right? So you guys move really, really quick. And often what happens is the rest of us are like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Right? It's like 1 minute you're doing this, next minute you're doing that. But you guys are very multi-passionate. So like I said, you're the bridge between the manifestor and the generator. You bounce between these big creative surges, right? Where you're like vision, creative surge energy. And then you're some days going to feel very grounded and tap more into that generator energy where you're like task orientated and executing things. So sometimes Manny Gens will be like, sometimes I feel like I'm two different people in one day. And it's like, yes, if you are moving into from the manifestor energy and the big creative surges into the generator energy of like doing the tasks, you are sometimes going to feel like you're all over the place. And that is how you work. Because as a manifesting generator, you're really here to show the rest of us that it is okay to move on from something that we're done with. So you're here to show the rest of us it's okay to quit. The key here is that you're not quitting because you can't be bothered or it's too difficult, but you're quitting because you're genuinely done. I call you guys the self-graduators. You will do something, you'll learn about something, and then you're like, and done, next, right? And society is like, no. You've made your bed and you should lie in it. You've started it, you should finish it. Who's heard all of those? For a manifesting generator, that is going to feel like a cage, okay? Because you're here to change your mind. You're here to show the rest of us that it's okay. If you're done with something, you get to move on. That's okay. And the other part is that your energy is very innovative. because you like to collapse time. You like to find shortcuts. That's an innovative energy. A manifesting generator that doesn't resonate with any of this is likely somebody that wasn't able to move on from things that they were done with. They were made to feel bad, that that's not okay. And also that innovation, people don't understand innovation until they do, right? So sometimes people are just simply not going to understand the innovation part. What you've got to be careful of, though, as a manifesting generator is that you're not shortcutting the wrong steps. Because if you do, you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to redo them, and that's going to cause you a lot of frustration. Okay, so for our manifesting generators, we have to know and understand that I've got to figure out the right steps to shortcut and innovate so that it works better, not so that I've got to go back and fix it. I've got a little manifesting generator. I've got a 10-year-old, my son. And since day one of him starting school, it is, I swear, I think he was 2 days into school and he was like, why do we have to be there for 6 hours? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I reckon we could, like, can't we just do this in like 2 hours and go home? He's like, why do I have to be there for a whole 6 hours every day, 5 days a week? And I was like, I know people who homeschool and they only do all that. They do all their studying in 2 hours. So you have a point. And so it's that very typical Manny-Gen energy of like, there's a better way. Like, there's got to be a better way of doing this. There's got to be a quicker way. Surely we don't have to be doing it in this way. So I see this play out with him all the time. When I learned he was a manifesting generator, I also then realized that he's not going to be the kind of child that I'm going to be like, if you start soccer, mate, you're playing soccer for the next 5 years. Or if you start tennis, you're going to be playing this for years to come. I needed to allow him to change his mind. So he's tried different sports, he's tried different things, and we've allowed him to be like, okay, well, you can try this out. He does it. He did, I think he played soccer, which I think is football that in the US. He played it for three years in a row, done. Can't stand it anymore, so over it. It's tennis at the moment. And I know that's likely going to shift. I grew up in a family where if you started something, you were seeing it through, right? That is how it was. And so now that I can understand that about him, I understand the difference between, is he just quitting because it's hard and it's a challenge, or is he genuinely just done and he wants to try something new? He's just interested in the next new thing. Do our Manny-Gens resonate with this, by the way? If you are a manifesting generator and you're like, wow, I actually don't really resonate with this, I want you really to find out what has been the relationship in your life and your upbringing with changing your mind, right? Not finishing something that you started. Where do you want more variety in your life, but you've not given yourself the permission to have that and to do that? Okay, that's really, really important to kind of start to look at that. And if you've got a manifesting generator in your life, allow them just to move the way that they move, because they are going to move quickly. Their strategy is also to respond, then inform. So there's a slight difference between the generator and the Manny-Gen here. They are responding like generators, but once they're clear, they benefit from informing others before taking action. This reduces resistance. The reason that is the case is because manifesting generators move fast. You guys pivot quickly. You change your minds quickly. Okay, so just let the rest of the people in your life know what's going on so that they don't feel like they're constantly left out. Wait to respond. Don't initiate from the mind. You're still using body wisdom. Body wisdom is really important for our manifesting generators. Check your sacral response. Allow your sacral response to be like, yes, no, this excites me. That is going to drain my life, right? You're going to have that sense, that feeling. Once you're clear that this is for you and you want to do the thing, you're going to then inform the people that are affected by your decision, usually the closest people to you, and then you're going to act. So you're going to skip steps at your own risk. You need to slow down just enough in order to stay aligned. So you don't want to become reactive, because we see this a lot in manifesting generators. I work with a lot of burnt out manifesting generators, although they've got this incredible sacral energy, because if they're doing too much and they're too reactive, they're not actually listening to their body. They're not slowing down just enough to listen to that sacral response to then inform and act. So your correct response is always going to feel satisfying and in flow. And your incorrect action is going to feel frustration and anger.
Recording
does
in
mean
progress.
is they need variety in their lives. They cannot go to the same place doing the same thing day in, day out, over and over and over again. The biggest challenge I have with my manifesting generator clients is they'll always say to me, yeah, but I've got these offers and I'm so bored of them. I don't want to do them anymore. Like, that's absolutely fine. There are ways to take an offer that you can still deliver forward facing to your clients, as an example, without confusing them. Because that's what I see with a lot of ManyGen business owners is they keep changing their offers and what they're doing, and the audience gets so confused because they're like, what are they doing now? What are they offering now? What is this offer? What is that offer? As a manifesting generator in business, what you want to be able to do is change things on the back end, the way you deliver it, how long you deliver it for, whether you take something and end up turning it into a course that is evergreen that you no longer have to deliver, so you can create the new offer that you want to put out there. But it's all about what you do on the back end, and you don't have to confuse it on the front end of business, right? Just as an example. The other misconceptions that you should commit to one path and stick to it, again, it's just societal conditioning that ManyGens need to be able to break free from. And they're showing the rest of us too that it's okay. It is okay to let something go. How many of us can resonate with staying or sticking with something because we felt like, well, I started it, so now I should, right? And it's like, yeah. And so our manifesting generators are not designed to work that way. And they're also giving the rest of us permission to be like, you know what? If I'm done, I get to move on. So can you see how important it is for each energy type to be in their own authentic energy? Because we, in that turn, give each other permission to be authentically ourselves and live our lives according to how we want to live them. The other misconception is they don't need to inform others before acting, and they absolutely do. The reason that is because of the manifestor energy that they have, and you're going to understand this a little bit better once I explain the manifestor piece. That they're just fast generators. There's not much of a difference, which is not true. There, as you guys can see, there is a clear, distinct difference between the ManyGen and the generator. Okay, and that they can skip the wait to respond strategy. No sacral type should skip feeling into that body wisdom, into that sacral yes or no. That's where you're going to find most of your answers. If you are a generator or a manifesting generator and you're like, I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything on my body. I don't feel a yes or no. I don't feel any of that. I want you to practice with yourself yes or no questions. I want you to close your eyes. I want to ask yourself, say if I was a generator, is my name Lindell? Obviously, yes. Where can you feel it in your body? Keep asking yourself really simple yes or no questions until you feel something somewhere. Get a friend or a family member to ask you those sorts of questions as well. Where can you start feeling it in your body? Because some of us have been taught that you can't trust your gut or you can't trust your sensations in your body. You need to think through the mind. You need to think logically. You need to do a pros and cons list, whatever that looks like. And for some of our ManyGens and generators, our sacral type, some of you have shut that off. And so we need to wake it back up again. Okay, so it's really important. So if you do have a manifesting generator or generator in your life and you want a clear answer out of them, close-ended questions, yes or no questions, because they can feel into their sacral. You ask them a really open-ended question, they're going to be like, because they're trying to find a sacral response, right? So if you want to get a quick response out of yourself or out of somebody with a sacral, yes or no, this or that, they're going to be able to be like, oh, yeah, yep, no. They're going to be able to feel into it. It's really cool. Our gifts of our ManyGens, fast, efficient. Okay, they move quickly, they're really efficient, and they're able to get things done really quickly. Multi-passionate, usually with diverse skills and interests. Natural innovators who find shortcuts and streamline processes. This is one of their gifts. That's why their shortcutting can come in real handy, because it's that innovative energy. They kind of can improve things if the shortcuts are the right ones. Strong gut responses that guide that aligned action, and ability to pivot quickly and stay in momentum. Our ManyGens, do you guys resonate with some of this? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So if you've got a manifesting generator in your life, now you understand them just a little bit better. Our projectors, our wise guides. I am a projector. So we are here to guide those around us through wisdom. We have this unique ability that I call, we kind of like just data collect, and we don't even realize we're doing it. But if you ever speak to a projector, they will often just have this way of being like, I think I know how this is going to turn out. I think I know how this is going to play out. I think I know what's going to happen here. And they're usually correct. And people will always be like, but how did you know that? And it's just through wisdom and time and experience and the things that they see that they pick up on patterns and processes. And they're able just to draw a conclusion of like, this is the likelihood of what's going to play out. We have this ability to kind of zoom out and see the bigger picture, which means when we can zoom out, we can actually see things like, oh, okay, if this happens here, that's the possible problem over here. If this happens, that's likely the outcome of that, right? I look at us as like, we're like these traffic helicopters, right? It's like on the top of a traffic scene because we've zoomed right out and we're like, oh, okay, so if this car goes there, they're going to get stuck over there. If this happens, there's a traffic jam over there, so we need to reroute over here. So it's like we have this bird's eye view of systems and processes. Our power lies in wisdom and how we share what we see. We often have a very unique way of seeing things, and most projectors will resonate with friends and family. You're always the one they come to for advice. Like, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this? What's your advice? What would you do? Okay. We create systems for action takers. We're really good at creating systems, and we're also really good at creating processes that work better because we see things. Okay. And we laser focus on tasks. So the way our energy works is we don't have to work 9 to 5, 8 hours a day, because we can get a lot done in half the time because we laser focus. So we go in, we get it done, and we get out. Energy's done. Okay, so I explain us like we're sort of like the cheetahs of the world versus we're not the long distance runners, right? We're like a cheetah. We absolutely power through, and then it rests, right? So it's like you've got the sprinters and you've got the long distance runners. Projectors are the sprinters. Get in, get it done, get out. Often projectors will experience, especially if they're working in a 9 to 5 job, we usually have our work done sooner than we should. And then we end up having to be the ones that are like pretending to be busy or having to take on extra work because we're just done. We've done all the things because we're just hyper focused. Whose projectors can resonate with this? We're just like, yeah, just get in there, get it done, and then I'm out. And then everyone's like, oh, why don't you do some more work then? You're like, but I've done all my work. I was just really efficient about it, right? So we get in and we get stuff done. We have, like I said, a real gift to give people advice. What we have to be very careful of, though, is that we are not giving unsolicited advice. All right, that is one of the biggest things that get us into trouble as projectors, because there's a piece that we have to wait for the invitation, which I'll go into in a moment. But I also want to share the way I have realized that my gifts as a projector in the world is I am not here to keep up with everybody else, right? I'm tapping into my wisdom, and that is what people come to me for. That is what I get paid for, is to teach and to guide and to coach based on the things that I see, how I see them, the perspective that I have to offer. Okay, so that is our projector energy. Our strategy is to wait for the invitation. Please, please know, this is one of the biggest misconceptions, is that projectors, I've literally had people say to me, I'm a projector, but I want to ask my friend out for a coffee. Would that be the wrong thing to do? Because I need to wait for the invitation. We're talking about big things here, okay? You can go and ask someone out for a coffee. You can go and start a business. I did. You can do all these things. So please know you're not sitting at home with the door shut and just waiting for someone to knock on it and give you an opportunity. Projectors can create experiences and they can create opportunity to be invited. What waiting for the invitation really is that you're here to guide, lead, and advise, but only when you're recognized and invited. Okay, so this applies to big life areas, love, career, because we only have so much energy. So as a projector, if you're constantly trying to be like, hello, can you see me? Hello, do you see what my worth? Do you see my value? Do you see the thing that I bring to the party? And these people are not seeing you and they're not recognizing you for your gift. That is going to be really exhausting. That is going to be really draining. So what you're doing is you're waiting to be invited into roles, relationships, and visibility. The way that I've done this as a projector is I've always been really good at networking. I don't go out there and cold DM people and cold call and things like that. I am always sharing and showing up online, speaking about what it is that I love, talking about the work that I do, and then people will come into my DMs and be like, oh, what is it that you do? How do you help people? Invitation, invitation. Every time somebody asks me a question about the work that I do, the programs that I run, how it is that I work with clients, how they can work with me, those are all invitations. Okay, so what we're doing is we're focusing on mastering our craft and being seen. Now, I know for projectors, sometimes this can be really challenging because a lot of projectors will use the excuse of, well, I'm waiting for an invitation. You still have to be actively creating opportunities in your life in order to be seen. You cannot be invited if nobody knows you exist and no one knows what you're doing. It's like that's really, really important for us, our projectors, to understand. Bitterness arises for us when we force our wisdom without an invitation. This is where what happens when you give unsolicited advice. I used to do this so often in my early 20s, guilty, because my friends would always come to me with like relationship problems at work. And I'd be like, oh, you should totally do this, this, and this. Because I could see what's going to happen. I was like, I just know this is how it's going to turn out. And then they'd get upset with me because they didn't ask. They didn't ask for my opinion, right? So unless someone says, what's your opinion? What do you think? Or as a projector, you can say, do you want my opinion? And if the person says yes, that's an invitation. If they say no, leave it, right? How many projectors can resonate with this, by the way, that you're like, yep, I go and tell people what I see is going to happen and what's going to play out for them. Yep. And then you're like, why don't they just do what I said? Why can't they see it? And we've also got to let that go as well as a projector, to be like, it's not your job to make sure the person does what you have suggested. You're a guide. You're guiding them. You're giving them your opinion because they invited you to. The rest is not up to you. Okay, so we have to let that go. Our energy can only go so far. So our success comes from when others recognize our value and invite us in. When I was working with Calvin, he was my coach. He was my mentor. I was in one of his coaching containers, and then I was in a mastermind with him. He used to joke with me about human design. He's got a good sense of humor. And then the one day he was like, what is it actually? Like, tell me what it is. So I told him a little bit about it and he was like, okay. Then he invited me and he said, could you do a session for my wife and my girls? My wife's really interested in this. Sure, I did that. They loved it. His wife was like, this is amazing. This is so spot on. And then he was like, okay, can you do mine? Another invitation. Sure. Sent him the link. He booked in. I did his. And he was like, this is so spot on. And then he was like, can you do my team? So see how I was in a program. I shared constantly what I was doing. He was like, this is interesting, right? As a generator responding. And then I was invited. Okay, like, can you do this? Can you do that? How does this work? Can you do it for my team? Can we do this with it? And then I was invited with a partnership. Okay, so that is what it's like. Be visible, speak about the thing, put yourself in rooms. And when I say rooms, that can be networking, it can be online. You've got to build connection and you have to be seen as a projector in order to get those invitations. Okay, so that's really, so focus on mastering your craft and being seen in that. So bitterness arises when we force our wisdom without invitation. So if I was to reach out at that time to Calvin and be like, hey, do you guys want a reading? Hey, do you want me to do something for your business? Hey, I can do this, I can do that. Most of the time that's quite repelling as a projector energy. And you're going to feel bitter because you're like, oh, I'm reaching out, I'm doing all these things. Why is nobody reacting? Why is no one buying? Why is no one doing X, Y, and Z? This is also why I teach business owners that sales and marketing and business strategy are the foundations of a successful business, but the way that you're going to do it's going to look very different depending on your energy type, right? The manifesting generator is going to market very differently to a projector versus a generator, right? Like the way you connect and sell with people is going to be different. So success comes when others recognize your value and invite you in. This is not to say you're only successful because others recognize you, but it's how projectors will feel successful for being recognized. If you are constantly in the wrong rooms with the wrong people and you're never recognized for the gifts and the skills you have as a projector, you're always going to feel bitter because you're not getting that recognition. All right, this is where projectors, we know we're in the right space because we're like, these people recognize me. They see me for my gifts and my value. That's where you want to be. If you're not seen for your gifts and your value in other spaces, don't be there because you're just using your energy. It's not necessary. Don't be there. So when you wait for aligned invitations, and I had to learn this the hard way, by the way, not all invitations are for you. Not all invitations are aligned. Okay, but it's a process to learn about this. When they're aligned invitations, you will feel seen, successful, and respected. Your energy is precious and you need to protect it because we don't have a sacral, defined sacral. Okay, so you need to allow yourself to use your energy wisely and then it becomes really potent. Biggest misconceptions: that we're lazy, we don't have enough energy to be successful. Honestly, I feel like sometimes on Instagram, they paint projectors as these tired beings that just walks around constantly tired and needing 100 naps. It's not how that works. Okay, I love me a good horizontal moment, right? I love lying down on my couch. I have this beautiful white couch upstairs. It's my couch. Everybody knows, like, stay off my couch. It's mine. Right? I love lying there and just like reading a book or playing on my phone for a little bit, checking some emails. And so I love me a relax. Okay, but you can still run a very successful business, run a very big life, but it doesn't have to burn you out when you know how to use your energy. So please know, as a projector, you are not lazy. You are just trying to be like a generator or a manifesting generator. And once you know how to use your energy, you're going to use it in a much better, more efficient way. Other misconceptions: that we have to wait for invitations in every part of life. Guys, this is so important. These are for the big things in your life. You can go for lunch with a friend and invite them. You don't have to wait for everyone to invite you. I literally see this, by the way, I'm not being silly here. I have seen projectors literally be like, well, I don't have any friends because no one invites me out. You can invite people. Don't take that like waiting for the invitation to such a degree where you literally do nothing in your life. That's not what we're talking about here. That you should force yourselves to work like generators. No, you're a projector. Work like a projector. There's gifts and skills in that. That you need to prove your worth to be recognized. No. Projectors aren't walking around here being like, see how worthy I am? That's our shadow. But what we're actually just doing is, in the right rooms with the right people, you will be seen for your gifts. And that we're only valuable if we're constantly guiding others. Some projectors will really resonate with this. I certainly did for a very long time. Is that my only value is that I'm here to help everybody, here to guide everyone, provide support and advice for everybody. But the reality is that's also really exhausting. Okay, so we have to have really good boundaries. I found myself in a lot of relationships, friendships, even business relationships where I'm giving, and there's no reciprocity, there's nothing coming in return, and I realize this is the quickest way to burnout, right? So you're not only valuable for constantly guiding others, you also need partnerships and relationships in your life where there is some reciprocity there. Okay, it's not your responsibility to tell everybody how to live their lives. They also need to take some action on their end. Our gifts: deep insights into others and systems, natural guides, leaders, and strategists. We're very good at strategy. We're very good. We see processes and procedures really clearly, like how things can be sorted, how things can be done better, because we're efficient. We only have so much energy. So we're like, you know what? Why are we doing this all this way? We can do this so much quicker, so much more efficient. Efficient and effective, like I just said, when working with the right people. Ability to recognize potential in others. We see potential in others because, again, we have the zoom out effect. We're really good at seeing the bigger picture. Brings clarity and direction to teams and relationships. I do a lot of work with teams through human design. I have this real just natural ability to be like, okay, if we put everybody's energy types together and we have a look at what everyone's doing, right? And this is the project, this is the end goal. Like, what's the best way for everybody to do what so that it all works seamlessly and everyone's in their zone of genius. Okay, so we have a really good way of doing that. Our manifestors, our visionaries, you guys are our big picture thinkers. Big picture visionary energy expands others' way of thinking. Right? If you ever speak to a manifestor, they'll sometimes just blow your mind with the things that they can come up with and the way that they think. Right? They're natural born leaders. Everyone can lead, by the way. but they are very naturally born leaders. They are here to initiate. This is the energy type that initiates things, gets things started, gets things going, creates new projects, starts things. Okay, they work in short, sharp bursts, and then they need to recharge. They do not have a sacral. They're a non-energy type like a projector, but their energy works in short, sharp bursts, right? So it's like this wave energy of like you've got creative energy, you're doing the thing, and then you're going to come down from that energy. Your creative energy is going to drop. It doesn't mean you can work 1 week on, 1 week off. It doesn't mean you have to work like that. What it just means is you're going to find your energy dipping in and out of creative energy, getting stuff done, and then feeling like you kind of come down from all of that. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I feel like all my creative energy is gone. I feel like I've got no real will to push through on this right now. So you just got to allow that process to play out, okay? You're also, because you work in short, sharp bursts, throughout your day, sometimes you're probably going to need to have a bit of a break here and there, right? You're not necessarily going to be able to sit there all day long and hyper focus on something, okay? But when you do, you're all in, and then you're going to need a break. You're going to need to tap back out. You create big actions, visions, and plans. Okay, that's what our manifestors are here for. I had a manifestor client that I worked with for 12 months. He owned a really incredible business. He had 10 staff, and his biggest challenge was that his whole life he was told that he is too kind of aggressive with his goals and his visions, because he's just like, let's go, let's do the thing, like this must be done now, let's do it. I wanted it done yesterday. And what he had to realize was actually that's how he was made to be. He's here to lead. He's here to initiate. He's here to get things started, right? He just needed the right people and the right team and the right way of communicating what he needed to communicate in order to really step into that leadership without always feeling like people are like, oh my gosh, like he's so intense, there's so much happening. Because what happens for manifestors is they have this urge, they have this internal urge to do something. And it's like they cannot ignore it for long. It's like this impossible, like, I have to do the thing. I have to go this direction. I need to do this. And that can be really challenging, right? Especially when they feel like everybody else around them is like, wait, you can't do that. Or, you need to explain that. Or why are you doing that? Why? That really frustrates them because they've got this vision. And they're like, I just want to go there. I don't want to explain the detail. I don't want to tell you all the things. This is the way I need to go. Are our manifestors relating to this, by the way? Our manifestors on the call? Yeah? Beautiful. So your strategy is to inform. You're here to initiate and impact. Okay, so you don't need to wait, but you do need to inform others of your decision to reduce resistance and foster a smoother path. Okay, so with our manifestors, you're not here waiting for a sacral response. You're not here waiting to respond. You are initiating. You're like, I have this urge. This is the thing I want to do. This is the direction I want to take my life, my business, my whatever, my career. I need to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. What can happen is the biggest challenge is that if you don't inform the people around you that are going to be affected by these decisions that you're making, they are going to get upset. They're usually going to feel left out, left behind. You don't fill them in on anything. So if you can see as somebody running a business, the team were often like, wait, hang on a minute. We were so in the dark about this. We didn't realize that this is the direction we're now going. With this particular client that's a manifestor, with his wife, she often would feel like he doesn't communicate with her because she's like, he doesn't tell me when all of a sudden we're completely changing direction on something. And what we had to work on with the both of them is that he had to learn, because he learned growing up that if he wanted to do something, he was told no. So he just found like, it's just better not to say anything and do it anyway, right? So it's like that whole like ask for forgiveness, not for permission piece. So I had to kind of really help him to understand and her to understand that this is what he needs, but this is how he needs to communicate so that she understands what's happening. Okay, so it was like a really important, because she was a manifesting generator and he's a manifester. Different energies. She also has this gut response. Okay, he doesn't, but he's leading without clearly communicating and informing, and therefore she constantly feels left out. So that was a big challenge that we had to, just for both of them to understand their energy type. So that manifestor really is that very like leadership, we're going this way, you're kind of on the bus or you're off the bus. You're coming with me or not, because I'm going to leave you behind. Okay, that's kind of that real energy. It is a polarizing energy. So just know that as well. It's not, they don't mean to be mean or leave you behind. It's just that's how their energy works. They've just got to go. Like when the energy's there, the momentum's there, it's building, they've just got to do the thing. What they need to learn just to do is, because they're acting on those internal urges, they're not here to wait for permission, but they are needing to inform others like, hey, this is the direction I'm going in right now. Hey, this is what I need to do moving forward. Okay? You're here to inform those who will be impacted by your decisions, as I just said. You are not here to be controlled. Freedom and autonomy are key. Okay, manifestors, if you feel like you don't have any freedom or autonomy in your life, you are going to need to start to figure out how you can build some of that in, because you are going to struggle, right? We see this as well in businesses or in corporations where somebody is a manifestor working a 9-to-5 job. If I've helped a lot of businesses recruit, if they're recruiting a manifestor, I always say to them, this role, this manifestor needs to feel a certain level of freedom and autonomy over this role. Okay, if they're going to be micromanaged and things have to be done only in this way, they're going to struggle eventually. They're going to feel really, really frustrated. So there needs to be a level of where they feel like I have some freedom to lead something here. I need some autonomy in how things are done. Does that make sense for everybody so far with the manifestor energy? Anger arises when you're blocked or not trusted. This is where manifestors can feel really angry because they feel like they're being blocked, because they want to move really fast. Like once the manifestors, that internal urge hits, they just want to go. And if they feel like they're constantly being slowed down because they've got to explain themselves, or they're not trusted to take the leap, that's where they're going to feel really blocked and frustrated and angry. Peace comes when they initiate in alignment and inform well. So they're here to initiate and they want to inform. It's really important for them. You are a trailblazer. Truly, you're here to initiate people as well. You're initiating people into their next versions of themselves as well. So say, for example, if you're a coach and you're a manifestor, you're going to be the type of coach that's really going to challenge people. You're going to really lead them on a direction. You're going to inform their next move, right? So you're going to help them initiate that. And so as a manifestor, I've worked with a manifestor coach, and she has been the most powerful coach because she was like, no nonsense. She like initiated me into a whole new version of myself because she just didn't hold back. And I was like, this is what I needed at the time. And she so brilliantly does that. So informing keeps the peace so you can move freely. Really important. The biggest misconceptions are they're aggressive, bossy, or domineering. They're not. They're just moving in the direction. They're leading. They're taking charge. That is how they are designed. And if they're in an environment and a space that they can do that, as long as they are telling the people around them who are affected by it before they make the move, that's what needs to be done. They don't need, one of the misconceptions, they don't need to consider others when making decisions. They 100% do. They're not asking for permission. That's the key though. They're not asking for permission. It's an FYI. I'm doing this. It's not a permission piece. That they should wait for permission or respond like others. No, they are not here to ask for permission. Don't benefit from informing. It's a waste of time. Some people think that. Some manifestors think that. They're like, I don't have time for this. I'm just going to do the thing. But then everybody else around them is upset. And they're like, why are they upset? Because you didn't inform. So it's very important. And that they don't need support or connection from others because they're these leaders. They're the ones that are initiating. They do need support and connection from others. They're still humans. And manifestors often do really well with energy types around them that can help them execute their visions, because they're going to use all their energy and momentum to create this vision and hold this vision that they've created. And then they need the energy types to help them execute on that, right? When their energy comes down. So they absolutely, like we all do, with the right people around us, we can create and achieve amazing things. The manifestor gifts, powerful initiators. Okay, you guys are here to get things started. You are people that create movements. You're trailblazers. You bring brand new ideas, brand new ways of doing things in the world, into the world. So you're independent, self-directed with strong internal urges. Like I said, trailblazers in the world. It's funny, I will share with you guys, I have these random little visions of things, and manifestors, I always see you guys as like these like Vikings, right? Like you're getting on the ship and there's something out there, there's land out there, let's go. We're going to this new place. And it's like, you're getting on the ship or not, because you're either coming with me or you can stay behind. That's how I see that manifestor energy, right? So they are these natural leaders who inspire action and movement, and they create impact without needing permission or validation. Can you see when we allow each energy type to be who they are, everybody gets into their genius zone and we work really beautifully together. Last but not least, guys, you're hanging in with me, well done, is our reflectors. They are the rare mirrors, highly sensitive to environments and people. As you can see, this is the reflector chart. Not one center is defined. They are wide open, okay? So they are very sensitive to their environments and other people. They act as mirrors for society. All right, they reflect back constantly what's working, what's not working, because they literally sample and experiencing energy all the time from others. They're deeply empathetic and understanding, excellent at evaluating and providing perspectives, because again, they're constantly feeling everybody's energy around them. And they're natural counselors and advisors. They have this unique ability to see the truth in a situation. Every time I have seen a reflector in an environment, if the reflector is thriving, it tells me a lot about the environment. It means that they're in the right environment. If they're not thriving, something is off in the environment. The people that they are surrounding themselves with, the experiences that they're having in that environment. It's really, really important for reflectors to consider their environment. One of my last advanced prac students, she's a reflector, and when she was halfway through the advanced prac, she was like, oh my gosh, I just understand something about myself. She was a school teacher. And she said every time she got a new cohort of children in, she would change the entire classroom. It was like a joke amongst everyone at school, because she would like change what's on pictures on the wall. She would change the entire layout of the classroom, how the chairs were set up, which way the desk was facing. Like, she would just change everything. And everyone always just joked and was like, why does she do that? And she realized what she was actually doing as a reflector is she's feeling into the energy of the children that steps into that term with her or that year with her. And she literally uses her environment to reflect back that energy. So some years with her school kids, her room would be really colorful and there'd be lots going on. And then other years it'll be more calm and subdued and more relaxed. And she was literally reflecting the energy of the classroom. So she was always shifting and changing. She said sometimes she would even have days where the first 30 minutes of the class arriving, she'd be like, oh, okay, let's change this, let's move that around. She would just randomly as well throughout the day sometimes shift things in the classroom, because she just really had this energetic awareness of what needed to change in the environment. And it's like, that is the perfect way to describe a reflector and how much their environment really impacts them. So if you are a reflector or you know a reflector, if they are not thriving in the environment they are in, it is the environment that needs to shift. It's not them. They are just reflecting back what's not working. They have a strategy of a full lunar cycle, a 28 days, which means they're deeply connected to lunar rhythms and environmental influences. Okay, so they need to wait 28 days before committing to major life choices. This is like, are you moving countries? Are you moving states? Are you buying a house? Are you starting a business? Are you taking a big financial opportunity? Major life choices. This is not about what you're going to have for dinner or where you're going to go on holiday, okay? So you don't have to wait 28 days for every decision in your life. Major life choices. The reason 28 days is really important for them because they use the full lunar cycle and all of that open energy to figure out what feels right for them, okay? So they're sampling life from many angles during that time. They do not have an inner authority. They do not have a defined center to grab onto. They are taking their time. Reflectors are here to show the rest of us that not everything needs to be done in an instant, right? We want them, they are not here to be making decisions in an instant. unless they've been experiencing. So the best way I can describe this is I've got a childhood friend who is a reflector. And it's so funny because when she went and bought her first house, she used to go to the suburb every day. She would walk around the suburb, she would go to the coffee shop closest to the suburb, and her husband was like, "What are you doing?" And she was like, "I just want to get a feel for the place." And then we learned that she was a reflector, and we're like, of course that's what she was doing. Because the minute it came to then her buying a house, she could, because they bought their house on auction, and she was like, that's the house, buy it, let's go, right? So that's a decision in the moment because she couldn't wait. But what she'd actually been doing for well over a month was literally sampling the energy of the environment she was about to buy a house in. Okay, so that's how that works for our reflectors. I've also got an incredible business coach that I worked with who was a reflector as well. And she makes really quick, big decisions. But because she has been, like, for example, she bought a huge commercial property, a really expensive commercial property, but she'd been looking into buying commercial property for months. It's not like she just woke up one morning and was like, today's the day, I'm buying a commercial property for $1 million. She's been thinking about it. She'd been going to different areas, looking at different commercial properties. So for her, she's not going to have a gut response like a mani-gen or a generator is going to have, right? She's going to have to feel like, how does this feel? So for her, where she bought the commercial property, it was all about the feeling, the environment around it, the location where it was. That was what was really important to her. So that's what we talk about when we talk about those committing to those major life choices, is that sometimes they're already going through that process. So they want to surround themselves with aligned people and places. Your environment is everything. Disappointment happens when you rush or lose track of yourself. Okay, and surprise and delight arise when you align with the right flow, where you're just like, let's just see where this takes me. Let's just see what happens here. So you're a mirror to the world, our reflectors. You give yourself time and space to gain clarity. Your perspective is a gift to the rest of us. Now, reflectors are 1% of the population, don't forget. The biggest misconceptions are too sensitive or emotionally unstable. Absolutely not true. They're just feeling a lot and they are moving through a lot of energy all the time. So they have to have really healthy boundaries. I have never met a reflector that reminds me of another reflector, by the way. I'm really good at picking projectors, generators, manifesting generators, manifestors at times. Reflectors are always so different from one another because they're so unique, right? They're so unique because of all of those open centers. So I'll share a little bit more about that over the program, but it's very tricky to pick a reflector often. That the other misconception, they should have clear and consistent identity. Absolutely not. They're wide open. They are constantly shifting, changing, moving. Can't make decisions without help from others. Not true. It's their environment that really leans into their decision making. That they're meant to reflect everyone else without boundaries. No, they are not here to do that for everybody. As a reflector, you need to be very careful and very clear with the types of people you have in your life. And you have to have very good boundaries. And that they're too rare to understand or work with effectively. I unfortunately hear this a lot. People are like, oh no, I don't want to do a reading for a reflector, or I don't want to work with a reflector because I don't understand them. It is our jobs as human design coaches to work with reflectors and get to understand them or get to learn more about them. Okay, I understand sometimes people are like, oh, but I feel like I don't know any reflectors. So how can I do a reading with a reflector? How can I do a session with a reflector? What you need to help that reflector understand is their type and their strategy and their authority, right? That's what's going to help them understand themselves better. That is a huge part of the puzzle to begin with. So we don't want to shy away from our reflectors. We actually want to lean more into them. We want to understand them better because, again, they are these beautiful reflective mirrors for us. Okay, so we want to work with reflectors. We want to get them to understand themselves better, and we want to understand them better. They're gifts. They're highly attuned people in environments, okay? They have a unique perspective that offers such deep wisdom because of all those open centers taking in so much energy and sampling all of this different energy. They are natural evaluators of community health and alignment. Because let me tell you, if you've got a reflector in an environment and they are not thriving, look at the environment. What's going on? What needs to be changed? If this is in a corporate space, or for example, my local real estate agents, I had done a workshop with them, and there was a reflector that worked for the team, and she was stressed, she was burnt out, she was struggling. And I was like, okay, what's happening in the rest of the team? Turns out they were all stressed, overworked, burning out, freaking out because of the systems, the processes, the workload. Things were not set up well. So we could clearly see by the reflector mirroring that back, and then seeing it playing out in everybody else, that things needed to shift and change here drastically before they lost half their team. Okay, so that's how important our reflectors are to showing us what's going on. They have this ability to amplify what's working and reflect what isn't, and deep connection to those lunar and cosmic rhythms. You guys made it. Well done. That was a really, really big session. How are we all feeling? Was that interesting? We learned a little bit more about ourselves, the people in our lives. Yes. Amazing. So your homework really is to become aware of the energy types around you. Who have you got in your family, right? Who have you got around you? What is around you? What is your energy type? What did you learn about yourself? And I want you to become aware of how those energy types are playing out, maybe in your family, in your relationship, business, partnerships, at work, whatever that might look like. I just want you to start to become more aware. Now, please know with this homework, you're not sending it to me. I'm not marking you on any of this. It really just is for you to start implementing and applying this work in your daily life. If you'd love to share it, please go ahead and share it in the chat. It's always so fun to see people share this and the aha moments that they get from it. But just become aware of those around you and get really curious, right? Like when you start to think about the people in your life and you're like, oh, I wonder, like start having a bit of a game with yourself. Like, I wonder if this person's a generator. I wonder if they're a manifesting generator. Do their chart, see what comes up, and share that with them. Share what you've learned thus far about them, because it's just really cool to see who's in your life and how everybody's energy is playing out. So I hope you all had an awesome session. I had an amazing session. I absolutely love sharing the type and the strategy with you all. I will see you guys in session next week. That's crazy. That went really fast. Week 2, session 3 and 4 next week. I will draw the winner, the first winner, at the end of this week. So keep an eye out on that in the announcement section. And I'll see you all in circle. Have a beautiful rest of your morning or evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Recording